From Music Through Physics and Biology to Health Part 1, number 1551, VPT 104, February 26, 2026, Gerald C. Hsu, EclaireMD Foundation, Category, Blood Pressure Autonomic Regulation. Preface, Acoustic frequency as a physiological damping mechanism for real-time hemodynamic load control. I went to bed around 23 o'clock last night and woke up briefly at about 5 o'clock this morning. I had many dreams, which diluted the quality of my sleep. When I woke up, I still felt the need for more rest. Therefore, I turned on a YouTube music channel and listened to soft music consisting only of calm and beautiful melodies without lyrics. This is the type of music I usually listen to during the daytime or while walking in the park. Soon after the music began, I fell asleep again and slept for another 2.5 hours without any dreams. I finally woke up at 7:30 a.m., which gave me a total of 8.5 hours of solid sleep. After waking up, I immediately measured my blood pressure for times in both my left and right upper arms and wrists. I recorded my systolic blood pressure SBP, diastolic blood pressure DBP, and heart rate HR. My medical AI software, the Chronic app, then instantly calculated for additional extended BP biomarkers and displayed them on my phone screen. I also calculated and reviewed my complete blood pressure data over the past 8 months after my stroke on June 21, 2025, which are attached at the end of this paper as a reference for this study. This morning's blood pressure measurements profile in mmHg, except for heart rate with their threshold values are listed as follows: SP equals 109 130 dBp equals 6680 HR equals 4960 pp equals 4345. MAP equals 8085 SBP spike equals 4.813 TSI equals 97.5100. All hemodynamic parameters are below their respective safety thresholds, indicating that the vascular system is operating within a protected load condition this morning. My post-stroke 8 months blood pressure measurements profile in mmHg, except for heart rate with their threshold values, are also listed below. SBP equals 115 130 dBp equals 7080 HR equals 6160 pp equals 45 MAP equals 85 SBP spike equals 1413 TSI equals 96 100. This simple sequence from acoustic exposure to measurable hemodynamic change forms the starting point of this study, in which I examine whether coherent sound frequency can function as a real-time physiological damping mechanism to reduce my vascular load. Introduction. Throughout my lifelong study and practice in engineering, artificial intelligence, and biomedicine, I have consistently viewed living systems as time-dependent dynamic structures operating under repeated energy input, whether the subject was blast-resistant plates, soil under cyclic loading, or the cardiovascular and cerebral systems under pulsatile pressure. The governing principle remained the same. Load enters a structure, energy is stored and dissipated, material properties evolve, and the remaining structural reserve determines survival. Recently, after developing a real-time hemodynamic monitoring system using my stroke risks triggering sensitivity index TSI, I began to observe that certain external acoustic environments consistently lowered my systolic blood pressure and reduced my TSI within minutes. This TSI effect was most evident when I listened to slow, harmonious, and rhythmically stable music tones. This observation led me to examine sound not as an emotional experience but as a physical energy input capable of influencing my autonomic regulation and vascular load. Sound as a physical energy input. A musical tone is a mechanical wave characterized by frequency, amplitude, wavelength, harmonic structure, and temporal spacing. From a physics perspective, it is an organized oscillatory energy field entering the human brain through the auditory system, ears. The eardrum converts air pressure fluctuation into mechanical vibration, which is transmitted through the middle ear into the cochlea, where hair cells transform the vibration into neural signals. This process is a frequency to neural code transformation. Different frequency structures produce different neural firing patterns and synchronization states in the brain. Therefore, sound is not merely perceived. It is a structured physical stimulus that can influence internal physiological rhythms, frequency entrainment, and biological oscillation. The human body is an oscillatory system. Brain waves, heartbeat rhythm, respiration rate, and vascular tone all operate in time-dependent dynamic cycles. When exposed to external rhythmic input, internal biological rhythms can become entrained to that input. Slow, smooth, and coherent tones promote a shift toward parasympathetic dominance. This results in Reduced systolic blood pressure surge, reduced heart rate, reduced peripheral resistance, more stable breathing pattern in my own real-time measurements. This autonomic shift is reflected in a measurable reduction of pulse pressure and systolic blood pressure, leading to a lower TSI. More specifically, the autonomic shift describes a change in the balance between the two branches of the autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic system, fight or flight, raises heart rate, raises blood pressure, increases vascular tone, increases BP variability and spikes. Parasympathetic system, rest and recovery, slows heart rate, promotes vasodilation, stabilizes rhythm, improves sleep depth, lowers hemodynamic load. So, in the specific scenario of this morning, the soft, slow, lyric-free music gives mental calming, gives vagal activation, gives sympathetic withdrawal, gives lower HR, gives lower SBP variability, gives smaller spike amplitude, gives lower SIF. It is an autonomic shift. Autonomic regulation as structural damping. In structural mechanics, damping reduces oscillation amplitude and lowers peak stress. A well-damped system absorbs energy smoothly and avoids sudden failure. In human physiology, parasympathetic activation plays the role of damping. It stabilizes cardiovascular oscillation, reduces pressure variability, and lowers peak load applied to a weakened vascular structure, such as my cerebral calcified microvessels near my pontine location. Harsh, irregular, high-frequency noise acts as a destabilizing energy input that increases sympathetic activation and elevates hemodynamic load. In contrast, slow and harmonious acoustic frequency acts as a biological damping input that reduces the mechanical load on the vascular wall. This is not a psychological interpretation. It is a load-energy structure interaction of a physiological effect. Real-time hemodynamic validation using TSI. The TSI is defined as a multiplicative combination of normalized pulse pressure and systolic blood pressure. It represents the instantaneous mechanical load applied to a vascular structure relative to its reference condition. TSI equals pressure pulse over 45 * systolic blood pressure over 120 * 100. Where pressure pulse BP equals SBP dBP during exposure to coherent and peaceful tones, I repeatedly observed 1. A reduction in systolic blood pressure to a narrowing of pressure fluctuation. 3. A measurable decrease in TSI which further reduced my stroke risk. This process forms a closed-loop control and feedback sequence, beginning with the acoustic frequency input, passing through autonomic modulation, and the resulting hemodynamic response, and ultimately leading to a measurable reduction in structural vascular load. This real-time measurability distinguishes this phenomenon from subjective relaxation. It becomes a quantifiable, non-pharmacological intervention for reducing both brain and heart rupture triggering load, energy flow and metabolic efficiency. In a healthy biological system, energy input, mechanical work, and thermal dissipation remain in balance. Under chronic stress, the system becomes inefficient and requires higher energy expenditure for the same mechanical output. Coherent acoustic input reduces unnecessary sympathetic activation and therefore reduces energy waste. This improves the efficiency of the cardiovascular system and preserves structural reserve. From an energy perspective, this is equivalent to reducing cyclic loading amplitude in a fatigued mechanical structure. Clinical and daily life implications. Stroke and heart failure are not caused by a single peak value but by the interaction between cumulative structural damage and an acute triggering load. The TSI provides a real-time indicator of that load. Acoustic frequency intervention offers a practical method for immediate load reduction without medication. A short sequence of slow and harmonious tones can shift the autonomic state, lower systolic pressure, and bring the TSI back into the structural safety zone. This transforms sound from an emotional experience into a measurable daily control tool for vascular protection. Integration with load-energy structure methodology. This study extends my load-energy structure energy framework into the frequency domain. Mechanical structures require damping to reduce peak stress under cyclic loading. Living biological structures require autonomic stabilization to reduce hemodynamic surge. Coherent acoustic frequency functions as a physiological damping mechanism. It reduces energy fluctuation, stabilizes internal oscillation, and protects a structure whose material reserve has already been reduced by long-term metabolic damage. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C. Hsu. This is Part 1.